The supplement industry, health influencers, and snake oil salesmen are always saying the same thing. Omega-3 fatty acids are so important. Look here. This is what our fake science that we financed proves. So go buy my supplement right now. Bullshit. The thing is, there are many problems around this whole topic. Let us take a closer look. Watch this video until the end so you never let yourself get tricked by charlatans again. But first, follow more. By now, even the last hillbilly knows the so-called theories about omega-3 fatty acids. The story goes that the supply from plants is not enough, that we absolutely need to eat plenty of fish to get our omega-3. Some influencers here on YouTube go so far with their lies, it's ridiculous. They would probably even lie to their own mother just to sell her their shit. I've heard statements like, eating fish is not enough. You can only get sufficient amounts of EPA and DHA through supplementation. And of course, they just happen to have the right link for you ready. They're feeding you nonsense and you don't even notice it, even though it's obvious. Let's shed some light on the topic, shall we? Yes, the conversion rate from plant-based omega-3, ALA, is relatively low. But is that really a problem? That is exactly the question we will look at today. And also what science actually says, more importantly, what it does not say. Let me quickly sum up. The recommendations of the EFSA and several scientific publications for omega-3, specifically EPA and DHA, is at least 250 milligrams, sometimes up to 3 grams or even more. But is that justified? And what data is this recommendation based on? To reach even the minimum amount, you would need to consume around 40 to 50 grams of flaxseed oil per day at average conversion from ELA to EPA and DHA. That goes for plant-based eaters, of course. Some people need more, some less, but that is the average. Studies also show that women have better conversion rates than men. But all of this still does not tell us anything about what is optimal and what is truly healthy for humans. This is a theoretical claim. So let us look at what is actually scientifically secured. DHA is a structural key component of brain and retinal fats, especially in the fetus and in the first years of life. DHA accumulation in the brain is crucial. EPA mainly acts as a precursor for inflammation, modulating signaling molecules like eicosanoids and resolvins. It is also true that some studies in which higher amounts of omega-3 fatty acids were supplemented showed positive effects. People with higher blood levels of EPA and DHA had a lower risk of cardiovascular diseases, sometimes also of depression and age-related cognitive decline. Pregnant and breastfeeding women also benefit from additional DHA. The effects on the child's development are measurable. But wait a minute. These effects mainly show up in special groups. Pregnant women, breastfeeding women, older people, or people with cardiovascular disease. There are also other correlation studies as well as intervention studies that show positive effects, but not all the large studies show clear reductions in mortality. The effects are context dependent, and you need to remember, nothing in the human body works in isolation. These are two substances out of millions more that work together in the body. The human body is a network, not a pipeline. EPA and DHA act in relation to many other nutrients, like vitamin D, antioxidants, omega-6 fatty acids, proteins, minerals. For example, the function of DHA and EPA depends a lot on the ratio to omega-6 because they compete for the same enzymes. And which other substances influence DHA and EPA? Many effects attributed to them could also come from other fats in algae or fish oil. That right there is a big methodological problem. So that is all very interesting, but do these data really show that we absolutely need omega-3 and that it is essential for survival. The word need is such a strong word. We do need it, yes, but this is not the crucial point. In this context, it does not mean that without it you will get sick immediately, like a vitamin C deficiency leads to scurvy, for example. It means that without sufficient supply, there could be long term suboptimal development or higher risks of chronic diseases, at least in some groups of people. The recommendations of 250 to 500 milligrams per day are risk reduction values, and it could even mean that in a perfectly balanced diet with a good omega-6 to 3 ratio, the body might manage with very little or even no direct DHA and EPA intake. So let us take a closer look at a group where low omega-3 intake could really be relevant. Who would be perfect for this? All right, vegans. What does science say about this? Are vegans less healthy or more healthy? How should vegans act? And what are the recommendations? Several studies show that vegans and vegetarians have significantly lower serum levels of EPA and DHA than meat eaters. Yet, they do not show higher inflammation markers, sometimes even lower CRP levels, which is an indicator of lower systemic inflammation. One study on young men found that vegans, despite higher ALA intake, had no higher DHA levels in blood, red blood cells, or sperm. DHA remained low. Observational studies also show that vegans and vegetarians still have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, even though their EPA and DHA values are low. Some evidence even suggests that the body can increase its conversion rate when there is no intake of EPA and DHA. So long-term vegan diets might cause an adaptation. This adaptation is not unlimited, but it might be enough to cover basic physiological needs, especially when the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is good, when overall metabolism is healthy, and when there is no increased demands like pregnancy, illness, or age. So again, in general population, higher blood levels of EPA and DHA correlate with lower risk for certain diseases. But these are observational data, not proof of causal effects. In healthy, well-nourished people with an optimal lifestyle, there is no clear evidence that even higher levels of EPA and DHA beyond the basic supply bring additional benefits. What is optimal depends very much on the context, and the general recommendations are tailored more to an average Western diet. So what should vegans do? Should vegans supplement omega-3 or not? For a long time, I did recommend omega-3 algae oil until I looked deeper into the data and the supplements themselves, because they can be very problematic. The positive effects seem to depend heavily on the quality of the oil, whether fish or algae, and the degree of oxidation is absolutely crucial, because omega-3 fatty acids are very unstable. They oxidize quickly when exposed to light, oxygen, metals, or heat. And yes, some studies showed positive effects from supplementation, but the real question is whether we as consumers can actually get the kind of high quality oil that was used in those studies. What we usually get are highly oxidized fish or algae oils that have the potential to harm your health instead of helping. So here's my recommendation. It depends on the context. If you are a super healthy vegan, you eat perfectly, you live a healthy lifestyle, you have no complaints, and you have been vegan for 4, 5, 6, 7 years or longer, forget it. Save your money, you will not benefit. If, however, you are vegan and struggling, even though you are already doing everything right, and let's assume you are not lying to me, then yes, in that case, look for an algae oil with a very low oxidation value. Optimal is a TOTOX value that is far below 10. Anything up to 10 still counts as fresh oil. Anything higher than that, throw it out of your house. Take approximately 2 to 3 grams for 6 to 12 months and see how you feel. Do not change anything else in your diet or lifestyle because they are already perfect, right? Keep a journal about it. If nothing changes, then the oil does nothing for you. Better save the money and invest it in a health practitioner, for example. Oh, I just happen to be one. If your symptoms are still there, it might be due to toxic load in your body, that you are missing nutrients, that your gut is not absorbing nutrients properly, and maybe you will need to eat eggs as a vegan to save your veganism. Check out my last video on eggs, where I explain exactly what eggs can do for you. And once again, I saved your life. And now, for more.